When we close our eyes and fall into sleep, what really happens to our consciousness? Our body rests, but the mind seems to follow a completely different path. It ventures into places that often seem more real than waking life. Sleep is simply seen as a period of rest, but if that's the case, why does our mind create realities with events, conversations, and even emotions so vivid during this time? Is there something deeper happening than just the body's rest? The simplest explanation of sleep says that it is a state of physical and mental recovery. But this explanation only lightly touches on what is really happening with our consciousness while we are immersed in this state. So while the body seems to rest, what is really happening with our mind? Are we simply in a power-saving mode? Or is there something deeper at play? In this transition between wakefulness and sleep, consciousness seems to do something more than simply shut off. Perhaps it's not truly shutting down, but moving to another form of perception. What happens between waking and sleeping could be key to a deeper understanding of how our consciousness interacts with reality. This view of sleep, as merely a rest for the body and mind, has long been considered, but it overlooks something fundamental about the brain's function. When we close our eyes at night, we are not just turning off our mind. On the contrary, the brain remains highly active, but in a different way. During sleep, especially in the REM stage, areas of the brain related to visualization and emotions become highly active. This contrasts with the decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic and decision-making. While the body powers down, the brain seems to dive into a state of intense internal activity. The vivid images that arise during dreams and the way we feel deeply connected to these experiences are not random or superficial. They are generated by these brain areas, which, by becoming more active, take us to unknown territories of our consciousness. The brain enters a state of great activity, with different parts of the brain performing crucial functions that are not observed when we are awake. This intense activity, especially during REM sleep, raises questions about the true nature of rest and what happens to our consciousness when we are not aware of ourselves. During sleep, the brain performs vital processes, such as consolidating memories and clearing toxins accumulated throughout the day. While the prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and decision-making, decreases its activity, other regions of the brain, such as those associated with emotions and vision, become more active. This behavior is crucial for the formation of dreams, which can reflect how the brain processes information, emotions, and lived experiences. But what does this mean for our consciousness? The fact that the brain does not shut down entirely suggests that while we sleep, our perception of the external world changes but does not disappear. Instead of being engaged in everyday tasks, our mind travels to inner dimensions, exploring symbols and experiences deeply connected to our subconscious. It's as if, during sleep, we enter an expanded state of perception, where the brain continues to work to connect and organize aspects of our inner reality. Instead of just resting, the brain seems to be reconfiguring, reorganizing, and even creating new realities, all on a level that our conscious mind can't comprehend while we're awake. So sleep is not a state of simple disconnection, but a phase of intense and transformative activity, where consciousness undergoes a process of renewal and perhaps even expansion, touching deeper dimensions than we can perceive in our wakefulness. But why does the brain maintain this activity when it should theoretically be resting? One of the most fascinating mysteries about consciousness during sleep lies in the production of a substance called DMT, or dimethyltryptamine. This substance, known for causing hallucinations when ingested in high doses, is also naturally produced by the brain, mainly during sleep, specifically during REM sleep. What many don't know is that DMT is not only related to psychedelic states, but also seems to be deeply involved in creating the experiences we have while we sleep. This release of DMT may help explain the vivid, intense, and often surreal sensations we experience in our dreams. Visions of other worlds, encounters with entities, or impossible landscapes can be seen as manifestations of DMT in action. In other words, what we experience during dreams may not simply be a basic hallucination. It could be a portal to an alternative reality, fueled by this natural substance produced by our brain. This leads us to a fundamental reflection. If DMT is capable of creating these profound experiences, to what extent are our dreams just hallucinations, or a perception of another state of consciousness? One of the most intriguing and challenging phenomena about the nature of consciousness during sleep is precognitive dreams, those in which a person dreams of a future event that later becomes reality. There are many reports of people experiencing dreams so vivid and detailed that when the dreamed event happens, it doesn't seem to be a simple coincidence, but an anticipation of something that hasn't happened yet. Historically, one of the most famous cases of precognitive dreams involves Abraham Lincoln, who dreamed of his own death before being assassinated. The accuracy of the dream, the details, and the tragedy that followed suggest that during sleep, his consciousness accessed something beyond immediate reality, something outside the order of time that we know. And this type of experience is not isolated. What does this imply about consciousness? Perhaps, while we sleep, our mind is not confined to the linear time we experience in the physical world. Maybe, on a deep level, our consciousness can access information that transcends chronology. Another interesting phenomenon about the nature of consciousness during sleep is sleep paralysis, a disturbing and often terrifying phenomenon that occurs when a person wakes up during sleep but cannot move or speak. The feeling of being awake, but still trapped in the body, creates a deeply unsettling experience, often accompanied by a sense of a threatening presence, as if someone is in the room or even on top of the person. This feeling of not being alone during sleep paralysis is one of the reasons many believe they are being watched by an unknown entity or force. The traditional scientific explanation points to sleep paralysis as a simple neurological disorder where the brain wakes up before the body, but still maintains the muscle paralysis that naturally occurs during REM sleep to prevent our bodies from physically acting out our dreams. However, what is observed in many people who experience this phenomenon goes beyond such a simple explanation. During sleep paralysis, many report feeling in a liminal state, a transitional point where reality and dreams merge. The presence of figures or shadows and the feeling of being watched by something invisible create a sense of detachment from physical reality, raising a hypothesis. What if sleep paralysis isn't just a failure of the brain, but a moment of conscious transition? Perhaps during these episodes, consciousness is temporarily leaving the body, entering another state of perception, or even accessing a parallel reality. Some associate sleep paralysis with astral projection, or an expanded state of consciousness, where the separation between the physical body and consciousness is no longer so clear. But are we really closer to another dimension in those moments? Is it possible that these uncomfortable experiences are more than simple neurological failures, and instead a glimpse of an expanded perception that we can't fully comprehend while we're awake? Astral travel and lucid dreams are widely discussed topics. These experiences are often described by those who report a sense of freedom and expansion of consciousness that transcends the limitations of the physical body. In astral travel, the sensation of detachment from the physical body allows consciousness to explore other realities or dimensions, often with the perception of being in distant places or even in non-physical planes of existence. While science has been skeptical about this practice, reports from people in different cultures suggest that consciousness seems to operate in ways beyond what we can understand with rational minds. Lucid dreams, on the other hand, are moments when the individual becomes aware that they are dreaming while still immersed in the dream. In this state, the person can exert control over the dream environment, changing scenarios or interacting with dream elements consciously. This phenomenon suggests a capacity of the human mind to access a higher level of consciousness, where we are not merely experiencing, but actively creating and shaping our reality. This freedom in the dream world may lead us to question the boundaries of consciousness, because if we can be conscious and act within a dream, doesn't that indicate that consciousness isn't restricted to our physical body? These experiences can be seen as portals that allow us to access alternative realities or deeper layers of our own mind. They challenge our conventional understanding of consciousness and make us reflect on the nature of what we are. Time, as we know it, seems to be an unchanging constant when we're awake. But when we are dreaming, this perception of time shifts in mysterious ways. Many people report experiences where, upon waking from a dream, they feel as though it lasted for hours, when in reality, only a few minutes have passed. This phenomenon points to something deeper about the nature of our consciousness and how it interacts with time during sleep. During dreams, time seems to expand or contract depending on the intensity of the experiences lived. A simple moment in a dream can feel like a lifetime, while a sequence of events that would normally take hours can pass in a fraction of a second. This paradoxical phenomenon raises questions about the linearity of time that we experience in the waking state. Often, the sensations and emotions experienced in a dream stay with the person for days, as if the impact of that moment had transcended the notion of duration. This challenges our understanding of how time truly works, because maybe it can be a fluid and flexible construct, subject to the state of consciousness in which we find ourselves. This dissociation between physical time and subjective dream time suggests that our consciousness, when entering sleep, moves into a form of perception that transcends the limitations we normally associate with time. When we are asleep, it's as if our mind is no longer tethered to the linear timeline we experience while awake. This possibility leads us to reflect on the nature of time, whether it is merely a construct of our perception or something that consciousness can shape as it wishes, especially when freed from the limitations of the physical body. And at this point, we begin to question the very nature of the reality in which these events occur. If time doesn't apply the same way while we dream, could we actually be accessing something beyond our traditional understanding of space and time? This is where the multiverse theory enters, suggesting that dreams may indeed be portals to other realities, like alternative and parallel versions of our own existence. The concept of the multiverse, the idea that multiple realities or parallel versions of our universe coexist, has gained momentum not only in the field of physics, but also in the collective imagination. This theory, which challenges the traditional view of a single universe, proposes that time and space are infinitely branching, creating possibilities for alternative realities where different choices and events unfold simultaneously. When we talk about parallel realities in the context of consciousness, we are addressing the idea that our perception of the world is not limited to a single timeline or dimension. Instead, there is an infinite network of possibilities and alternative versions of ourselves, where our choices, thoughts, and energies shape different scenarios that coexist simultaneously, but outside our usual perception. From a spiritual perspective, this connection with other realities is not just about expanding the mind, but also a way of reconnecting with the cosmos and with a greater truth, beyond the individual ego. Consciousness, by touching these other parallel versions, comes closer to the totality of being, recognizing that everything is interconnected in a vast cosmic network. Following this perspective, the experiences we have in dreams may be more than a simple projection of our unconscious mind. They could be a way for our essence to touch other layers of reality and perceive the infinity of what is possible. This leads us to believe that what we call reality may be just one of the many layers our mind is capable of accessing. And when we expand our perception, exploring the relationship between dreams and parallel dimensions, we begin to realize how vast our being is and the reality in which we exist. The interesting thing is that as science explores the boundaries of the cosmos and quantum physics, parallels emerge between these parallel realities and what we experience during our dreams. Often, we are transported to scenarios, places, and even situations in dreams that are not only vivid but also strangely familiar, as if we have lived them before. This sense of dream déjà vu makes many ask, how can such a detailed and real scenario emerge from pure brain activity? The idea that dreams may be portals to these alternative realities not only opens new perspectives on consciousness, but also resonates with ancient spiritual beliefs that claim our dreams connect us to other dimensions of existence. Ancient theories speak of parallel worlds and astral planes that are accessible through the mind and in the realm of modern physics. The concept of the multiverse suggests that it is possible that, in our dreams, we are connected to these other versions of ourselves or entire realities. In several spiritual traditions, it is said that dreams are more than simple summaries of our day or metaphors for our emotions. They are portals to other dimensions, accessible only when our consciousness moves beyond the limitations of the physical body. This phenomenon suggests that consciousness, when not restricted by the boundaries of the material world, can operate in a more expansive reality where time and space become malleable concepts. Here, the multiverse theory connects fascinatingly to dreams because, by questioning the nature of dreams, we may open ourselves to the idea that it's not the brain that creates these worlds, but our consciousness interacting with other versions of reality. Each dream, then, can be seen as an experience in a parallel version of yourself, a version that perhaps never existed in the waking world but still offers profound insights and even directions for the present. The human mind, despite its impressive ability to store and process information during the day, seems to be surrounded by mystery when it comes to dream memories. When we wake up, many of us quickly face the feeling that our dreams have disappeared, as if they never existed. This leads us to question why exactly we forget most of the dreams we experience during the night. The most common explanation is the functioning of the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory formation and storage. During sleep, especially in REM sleep, the hippocampus does not function the same way as when we are awake. This process seems to hinder the transition of dreams into conscious memory, which leads to forgetting. But what does this really mean about our consciousness? There are many theories in the field of spirituality about this, but many discuss that this forgetting serves as protection, preventing our mind from being overwhelmed by the intense and often unsettling experiences we have during sleep. On the other hand, if we consider that our memories of dreams could have a deeper role, we might question whether this forgetting is truly necessary or if there's something else happening in our perception process. All of this leads us to think that sleep may indeed serve as a portal for expanding our consciousness, allowing us, while resting, to explore what lies beyond our conscious understanding. This unconscious exploration may be one of the purest forms of consciousness expansion. It invites us to question the nature of reality, perception, and even our role in the vast universe. Sleep, then, is a powerful tool for evolution and self-awareness, a time when our consciousness is free to travel beyond the limits imposed by wakefulness. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with others so they can benefit from this message. And don't forget to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, reflections, and experiences. Thanks again for watching and for joining me. Take care and see you soon.